Boom! Welcome to the FPL Double Up podcast. I'm joined, as always, by FPL Heisenberg. Both with green arrows. Two happy men. We're both here.
Lovely.
Yeah, better than last week. You had a green arrow last week too, though, did you?
I can't actually remember now. Maybe.
Maybe.
Yeah,
I didn't.
So. Yeah.
But Wes, it was a interesting week. Lots to discuss. Lots going on. You know, there's obviously still lots of European football to happen this week, but already we've got some concerns. We're going to have to talk about Reece James. We've got Mitrovic to talk about with Luis Diaz, Trent. Nico Williams looks like he's lost his place, which is going to hinder a lot of people. Gameweek 12 bench depth. He was in a lot of people's squads for that. The big blanks coming. There's lots of other things. We have a few differentials to show people. We're going to show the results of our double up game that we play every single week. And then on top of that, we're going to do our team reveals and, well, at least their current iteration and some quick fire questions. So that's a running order for today. How was your week? Did you enjoy the football? Did you watch any games?
I did, yeah. Always watch as many games as possible and really enjoyed it. But I think my mind now is just completely focused on... lovely little plug there for a hub. My mind is now completely focused on game week. Game week 11 is coming up this week, but all I can think about is game week 12. I've got Reece James. I've got 3 City, 2 Arsenal.
I just picture the meme of you and is it your wife or your girlfriend? Anyway, your partner.
Wife, yeah.
Your wife in bed, and like you facing the other way and her facing the way. Like, I wonder what he's thinking about you, like game week 12.
Yeah.
Someone make that meme.
Yeah, he's probably thinking about the women, but in actual fact, he's just thinking about Nico Williams losing his place, like the saddos that we are, John. So yeah, I feel like I'm complete. The good thing for me is I saved a transfer last week to help deal with this carnage. So at least I've got this week's 2 free transfers plus an extra transfer next week, of course. So I've got 3 free transfers to try and get away with it. Might play with 10 players, might still be a -4. But yeah, game week 12 is just... And actually, to be fair, game week 11 I'm struggling as well because I've got Patterson and Nico Williams as my bench defenders, offering me very little, injured/lost their place. And now Reece James' potential injury, so I'm probably going to have to transfer Reece James this week unless we somehow get some miracle good news that he's somehow not out this week, which seems really unlikely. So, yeah, it's really tough at the minute, FPL.
Yeah, because Nico Williams obviously caught me and Reece James caught me, and last week I had Fofana catch me, Bailey catch me. I thought I was going to play Bailey and he was injured, so Bailey, Fofana were injured. There's another injury I'm forgetting about last week that was an issue for me. I had Kulusevski a few weeks ago, and then now I've got Reece James and I've got Nico Williams in doubt. So like, I need to find transfers. I've took back-to-back 4-point hits, and I don't like 4-point hits, but it's like it's tough out here. Do you know? Yeah,
I think you might have to be. Did you say if you've still got all those players, you might have to be like me, maybe looking at another one?
Well, you see, now I've got... We'll get on to my team a bit later. Now I've really got... Mitrovic was the other one. I've got Mitrovic and James, and I've got Nico Williams. So, like, we're kind of... back. Yeah, now I do have... I've only got 1 transfer. Anyway, I thought I could roll, but we'll get on to my team later. I thought I could roll Reece James, as kind of throwing a spanner in the works. But anyway... Hello to everyone in the comments. JGFD, FGFD, lovely name. Afternoon. Just a Dad posting stuff was in. Harrison Gray, FPL Sparta, Tom Stevenson, and Lucky Llama all in the house. How are we doing? Make sure you drop a like on this for us and subscribe to Fantasy Football Hub. Right, Wes. Let's just talk through the injury list. Let's talk about replacements. Let's talk about considerations or the latest you've heard. Now, I watched the first half of the Chelsea-Milan game last night, and it annoyed me. The referee was absolutely brutal. Like, the worst I've seen in years. He was dishing out yellow cards for everything. He gave Krunic, I don't know where was he playing, right back maybe? Or centre mid. Anyway, for Milan. He was on the right-hand side of the pitch at the time. He gave him a yellow card, right? Because he fouled someone, and it wasn't for the foul. And then he picked up the ball, and the ref blew it up, and he went, for fuck's sake, and he punched the ball into the ground, like, to give it back. You know, like... punching the ball to them. Instead of throwing it to him, he punched it off the ground to them. He yellow carded him for that. And then he was dishing out yellows left, right, and centre. And the red card was like triple jeopardy. It was like penalty, red card, suspended for the next game. And it, like, Mount didn't go down in fairness to him, but it wasn't like it was dangerous or foul play. It wasn't denying a clear goal scoring opportunity. Maybe it was. But anyway, I don't know. Brutal. But the big talking point for us today is Reece James.
Yeah. It's
what
just
happened?
exactly yes.
What's the story with him?
So, yeah, he got injured in that game. Tried to play on for a couple of minutes, then had to go off. I think it was, from what I'm seeing, knee related, which again doesn't sound good.
No.
So I'm somehow praying, hoping it's some sort of swelling that can somehow go down by the weekend. If not by the weekend, hopefully for game week 12. But it's almost safe to assume that he'll probably miss the next few game weeks because obviously FPL game weeks are coming thick and fast now with the midweek. Game week 12 is midweek. So essentially game week 11, 12 and 13 all basically roll into each other with only like a day's gap in between games. On a bit of a tangent, I want to moan about referees from last week, actually, John, in FPL. So if you saw the Antonio goal, for me, shouldn't have counted because he purposely handballed it. He went on to score, but because he didn't score the initial shot, it was second phase. If he actually finishes well the first time. So he got rewarded for a poor finish. And then Rashford's goal was, I don't know if you saw that one, that was a joke as well. It like bounced up and hit slightly on his arm. Obviously, we won't stay on that point too much, but just because you were moaning about the refs, I think VAR and the refs had a bit of a poor weekend, inconsistent weekend.
VAR for me, Wes, is a load of bollocks. It was brought in to solve all the troubles we had. Here's what I want to see, and people have heard this, and I'm sure there's flaws, but this is just, I just can't see why it doesn't work. You just play the game as normal, and both teams get, say, 2 challenges a half, where you can go VAR the shit out of that one. If it's a goal and they like whatever about goal line technology, it's different. But like, let's say they think someone's handballed it, they think okay, challenge that one, and you've got 2.5. If you're wrong, you lose it, and if you're right, you keep it, or 1.5, whatever it has to be. This nonsensical checking of everything and then not checking other things and inconsistency, and it just leads everything in slow motion looks worse or looks better.
Yeah,
it's just
slow motion stuff.
It's a shit show. But anyway, that's not what we're here for. Reece James. Probably out this weekend.
So in terms of replacements for Reece James, like my brain initially went to players like, okay, maybe Chilwell, very exciting pick, got a goal in him, got an assist in him, plays for a decent team, so decent chance of clean sheets, all that stuff. But then it's made me think there's 3 Premier League games in the space of 7 or 8 days for Chelsea coming up, starting this weekend, then midweek, and then the following weekend. So Chilwell, and I think there's quotes from Potter saying something along the lines of playing Chilwell in, such close proximity is going to be a risk. So what I'm trying to get at there is these sort of sexy picks aren't necessarily the one right now, and maybe it's the unsexy pick. So it's the Eric Dyer from Spurs nailed on, playing for a decent team. It's Lewis Dunk, it's Mark Gahey, all these centre backs that are relatively boring. They can maybe score a header from a corner. Dyer's got a couple so far this year. Lewis Dunk, I'm not sure about this season, but he has the occasional goal in him, doesn't he?
Yeah.
So maybe it's Reece James' replacement should be unsexy, because if we go for Chilwell, maybe it works out this week. But then game week 12, when we won't have a bench, no one's going to have a bench in game week 12 because everyone's going to be carrying Haaland and Cancelo pretty much, aren't they? And maybe Martinelli as well. So if Chilwell then gets rotated midweek. Yeah, De Bruyne, Foden, and then you've got players like, maybe for myself, I'm relying on Nico Williams. He might not play, so I might, what I'm trying to get at is that I don't think I can take a risk on a sexy pick. Maybe, someone might say in the comments, well, hang on a minute. If Chilwell plays 2 out of the next 3 games, he could outscore the likes of an Eric Dyer, who might get a clean sheet and a blank, maybe. And maybe Chilwell can have one, but, if Chilwell has an 18-pointer in one game week, then it's going to cover it off. I get that. But I just think I'll end up now. We always like to pick these fullbacks, don't we, John? Like Chilwell, Trent, Cancelo, blah, blah, blah. But I think it's going to have to be a boring pick for a Reece James replacement.
And it's the same for a Trent replacement. Trent, subbed off out for a few weeks, apparently. Yeah. His chances at the World Cup don't look great. That sounds just crazy to me. But
I know, yeah.
It is what it is for various reasons. But
and John, sorry to interrupt, but like you said, with Trent injured, Reece James injured, Robertson injured, everyone's pretty much already got Cancelo or Trippier. If you haven't, obviously, then they could be, well, not Cancelo because he's going to blank anyway. But if you haven't got Trippier, he's an easy, you can get Trippier in for Reece James, really easy replacement. But apart from that, he's just like an amazing attacking pick anyway. So that's why boring pick at the minute is probably the way to go. And the boring picks are generally cheaper, which allows you to maybe move up to a Kane or whatever you want to do. So yeah, sorry to interrupt, but I thought that was a good point.
No, not at all. No, you're bang on, and you're right, because we've been so clung to these big at the back defenders all season, these wing backs, these big team guys, and now they're all like dropping like flies, and it's okay. Well, who do we replace them with? It's not really like there's like, I don't know, the budget option, the budget version. There aren't really many. I don't know, like even like a Saliba blanks. I'm looking at the top scoring defenders.
Exactly.
Dyer. Oh, really? Are we there? Gabriel blanks. White blanks. Cody has. I don't know. I'm getting all the way down, and I'm looking at people like Ashley Young, who scored a belter, 5 points. 8 points, 11 points, returns in the last 3. His first Aston Villa goal in 11 years, and he got 11 points. Serendipitous? I think so. But I don't know. It's just, there's no one I like the look of.
Yeah. I think someone just put in the chat a Stupian, or however you say it, worth a look because of 2 good fixtures. So Brighton do have 2 really nice fixtures, which is why I was kind of suggesting Dunk as just sort of that nailed. And I said, well, I think with a Stupian, he got subbed early for. Who's that really exciting player who came on? I can't think of it now. I'll find out. But my point is there that I think he could be one of those that's rotation risk. Let me find this player because he's came off the bench, played really well. I don't want to get his name wrong, like I always do. But yeah, just to highlight Brighton, if you look at their next 2 fixtures, John. Yes.
Matoma, I remember him from his time in Belgium. He was a baller out there.
So yeah, he looked really, really good when he came on. Like it was like, you know, when you sometimes watch a match and it's like, oh, there's the best, you know, this player looks a cut above everyone on the pitch. It was against a good Spurs team as well. He looked really, really exciting. So the long point I'm trying to make up there is maybe a Stupian is a little bit of a rotation risk because of Matoma, and therefore the boring Dunk, clean sheet potential. 2 really nice fixtures for Brighton. Who is it again? I think it's Forest in there, and memories all over the place today.
Sorry, I could probably
look at this. They've got Brentford away. Okay, you know, not easy, but still decent enough, isn't it? And then they've got a home fixture against Forest. So if you're just looking short term at 2 decent fixtures, can't really go in a 2 fixture block. Brighton probably come out at top of a fixture ticker.
Well, if people want to check it out, use the link in the description and head over to Fantasy Football Hub's fixture ticker. Ho ho ho!
Get the mug involved.
Imagine it broke. That'd be a real, I don't know, plot twist. Anyway, so the defenders' recent trend, absolute nightmare. Luis Diaz injured as well, so midfield slots.
Yeah.
And again, that's one of those where it's almost an easy replacement with all these Zahas and Madisons and Foden, albeit he blanks, and Martinelli's, albeit you probably already have many blanks. Mount is doing well. I think there's an abundance of options, but if we were to go for maybe a more budget option, is there anyone in midfield that jumps out maybe around the sub 6 million mark?
I think it's probably sub 6 million. Probably Almiron's looking good. I think we tipped him a few weeks ago and he's done well since then, John. Around the 6 million-ish mark, you've got the Brighton midfielders as well who have done well historically this season.
Was Almiron one of our differential picks 3 weeks ago?
Yeah, I think he was. We should have shouted about that a lot more.
Jeez, we should have shouted about that. He got a 15-pointer, then a 7-pointer. Yeah, look out for today's differentials. Ooh.
Yeah, so yeah, sub 6 million. I'd say those. If you're just going to stretch a little bit further, Trossard 6.7 is he? And again, he's got those 2 nice fixtures that we keep talking about. When they do face in game week 13, they face City away. Maybe at that point we can start being a bit more short term now, of course, because we've all got a dead end into game week 16. Essentially, we're all playing FPL now. Like game week 16 is the last game week of the season. Obviously, not spunking chips in the lead up to that, but in terms of players we're targeting, there's no point looking at. You don't have to think about. I always hear people saying this. I think player X will score 10 goals from midfield over the course of the season. Therefore, I'll put him in. Season-long stats do not matter, especially this season, because we are literally enforced to change. Well, we have the option to change our entire team in game week 17, everyone in the whole game. So just dead end into game week 16 in terms of players you're looking at. And like I said, save your free hit, bench boost, and that stuff for the second half of the season if possible. We're going to talk a little bit more about whether to free hit or not in game week 12, aren't we, John?
We are.
Because we've just going back to my own situation a little bit, which will resonate with a lot of teams. I've kind of planned for game week 12 and I thought I've saved at transfers and I thought, right, I can get out 11 players, but it's FPL. Things happen. Reece James's injury. Nico Williams has lost his place. Mitrovic's injury. All of a sudden, from going to getting 11 decent players out in game week 12 for no hit, I'm now looking at to get 10 players out, probably a -4 or maybe even a -8 just to get 10 players out, which is disgusting, really. So yeah,
Tragic.
you can plan all you want, but with all these good plans that we've been putting in place, you need that luck of no injuries to your other players. Because obviously, I'd planned to focus my transfers on players who were blanking in game week 12, which meant holding Reece James and Mitrovic. But now I can't do that because they might be injured. So yeah, hopefully we need some good injury news. Or I think everyone is going to take either a -4 this week or next week to get a decent amount of players out. So I don't mind taking a -4 because I sort of see that as break even. Yeah, so I feel like everyone's going to be taking at least a -4 over the next couple of weeks. It's just when you get into the territories of -8s, -12s, even bigger, is it worth pulling out the free hit shit? So yeah, we can talk about that a little bit later on.
Yeah, we'll get to that, I suppose. Just running through kind of the injured players and replacements. One that I wanted to mention for Luis Diaz, and I've seen it in the comments there as well from PSV96. It was in the comments a lot yesterday when I was streaming. Eze at Crystal Palace. You know, 5.5 million off the back of, I think, is it 2 back-to-back returns? No, he didn't. He just got the 10 point. He didn't actually. He didn't return versus Chelsea. It's his first goal of the season.
Assists this season, wasn't he?
Yeah, but they were all the way back in game week 4 and game week 2 against City and Liverpool. He actually hasn't done a lot recently, but he did play well, get the goal and 3 points against Leeds. And I think the bigger thing here is that Crystal Palace's fixtures are just beautiful. You know, Leicester, Wolves, Everton, Southampton, West Ham, Forest up to the break. Like, it doesn't get better than that. So a lot of people mentioning him. For me, he's not really for me, but I suppose I've got Martinelli and Andreas kind of as my budget-ish midfielders, so maybe I don't need to think about it. I just think I think it's a bit FOMOing in after one goal. I don't think he's a proven enough or good enough FPL asset.
I think he will be a bit patchy with his returns, but that could be said of any sort of, even someone like Martinelli's had a decent amount of blanks so far this season. Any sort of budget midfielder will be a bit patchy. For me, I don't personally want double palace. Like you say, I don't think Eze's proven as an FPL asset in terms of being that player who's going to score you tap-ins or create proper tap-in assists. Even his goal wasn't, he had to work hard to score that goal, didn't he? Whereas someone like Saka, I'm not saying just to use him as a comparison, Saka's there for a tap in back post and Saka takes a penalty to get his points. Whereas Eze's just not that type of player, if that makes sense. I know it feels a bit weird to compare the two. I'm not, but I'm just saying in FPL returns, you want those players getting easy tap-ins. You want those players on penalties, stuff like that. So yeah, I don't. But on the flip side of that, although I don't think I'd do it, I don't hate it. I think the reason why I won't do it is because, like you mentioned earlier, John, the midfielders are performing really well at the minute. There's loads of really good options. There's Trossard, there's Bowen, there's Zaha, there's Mount. There is more expensive players like De Bruyne and Foden when they're obviously not blanking. There's Martinelli that we want to keep hold of. So those midfield slots are quite precious. And if you've got a cheap one like Andreas, like we both have, then you've essentially got 4 proper midfielders to choose from. And like I've just listed a load of other players I'd rather have than Eze, if that makes sense.
I'm just having a look there, trying to get the most up-to-date news I can on injuries. I've had a look at Ben Dinnery's Premier injuries here. Alexander Mitrovic on the 7th of October is the last comment in here. He was outside this morning doing some work, getting better, but still a doubt for the match. He could be ready for Sunday. He wasn't. He could be ready next week. Tomorrow we'll assess him again. Maybe there's something else out on him, but it sounded pretty promising then, 5 days ago. Yeah,
I think that was before the game at the weekend. I think there were some post-match comments. So it sounded really positive.
So this isn't updated, maybe?
I think there's one more comment since then, but basically he had a chance for West Ham. What came out was he had a chance for West Ham, but was going to be definitely, the quote was from Silva that he was definitely going to be ready for Bournemouth. Then post-match, he was a little bit more woolly, where he sort of said maybe he'll be ready for Bournemouth.
He's only playing a game. He's saying, do you know what it is? Don't plan for Big Metro and he's going to come in and destroy you. And I'd say bad buds right now, but I'm not allowed to.
Hopefully. So for me, Mitrovic, I need to keep hold of in the hope that he'll be ready for game week 12. Obviously, hopefully, ideally in game week 11 as well. The way I'm looking at it is Andreas is my first sub this week. He'll come in for Mitrovic if he doesn't play this week, which gives me a bit of breathing room to hopefully allow Mitrovic to be ready for game week 12. For me, removing Mitrovic would be a luxury. Like I keep saying, I've got 3 Arsenal, 2 City. I've got Patterson. I've got Reece James. Mitrovic is way down the pecking order for me in terms of priority transfers out. unless if it comes out he's injured for 4 weeks, of course, then he just gets lumped in with all the other injured players I've got, and he becomes a transfer out. But right now, anyone who's got a chance of playing a game week 12 stays in my team. It's as simple as that.
Shout out to David Sabo and Frost Bolter, both watching us from Melbourne, the other side of the world. Coming up on 10:30 at night over there. They're about 10 hours ahead of us, so maybe they've got updated injury news. There's a shit time zone joke. I hate that joke. People always make that joke and I hate it. Let us know where you're watching. Still funny though. Let us know where you're watching from in the comments, and we'll move on. Nico Williams lost his place.
Yeah, I was just about to say that, John. And I was hoping if there's a Nottingham Forest fan in the chat, we need Mark Southerns. We need Mark Southerns on the pod again, John, because he is a Forest fan. What's the deal there? So Ori obviously came off the bench at half-time against Leicester for him, and then he started the next game and played around 60 minutes because he's probably not ready for 90. Did he play well enough to start the next match? I don't really know. I was watching the game. It was such a crap game that I couldn't tell you if Ori particularly played well or not. He didn't make any big errors, but hopefully Nico got a good 30, 35 minutes. Nico's there like...
What? I was heartbroken, Wes, because I opened up the team sheet on Flash Score and looked at it, and the only player I cared about was Nico Williams on the whole pitch.
Yeah.
So I went straight up, because I think I'd forget it, but I went and looked for Nico Williams, and he wasn't at right back, and I was like, the initial thought was, they've pushed him to left wing. Yeah. I was like, "Ooh, he's out of position. Amazing."
Playing further forward.
And then I was like, "Where is he? Why can't I see him?"
Yeah. I did that. I was looking through the team sheet, like, where's his name? Where's his name? And then I saw him on the bench.
I'm just looking in the comments there. We've Daniel also from Melbourne, Brian from the USA, Cyclopath from Snowdonia, Tanzania for Ali, Indonesia for Professor UNO, Mr. Damie also Melbourne. That's 4 Melbourne heads. And then South Africa here. I'm just waiting for the first person to say Scunthorpe or something like that. South Africa, Melbourne.
Yeah. I just made that crap joke that you just alluded to, John. Literally, I was typing it as you said it. I just said England for me.
England, yeah. It's like, where are you from? Like, anyway, right. What are we talking about? Nico Williams lost his place. We'll have to see what happens there. Wait and hear some news, but not ideal. Far from ideal.
Again, just for me, I think when people, you might be thinking, I'll take Williams out because he's lost his place. But for me and a lot of people, we need any sort of player who has a chance of playing game week 12. At least, it sounds depressing, but at least Nico Williams will probably come on and get us a 1-pointer. And in game week 12, that's better than nothing at the minute because, like I said, we need everything we can for game week 12. So I'm going to probably hold for game week 12, play him in the hope he starts and gets me a 6-pointer. If he ends up getting a 1-pointer, so be it, and I'll just take the loss in terms of... I think game week 12 is going to be a poor game week for everyone, I'm hoping. So even though it feels like, I look at my team and it feels like, oh dear, I'm in a lot of trouble, everyone's in the same boat. You just listed off a load of injuries in your team, John. Other people, I don't have Trent and Luis Diaz, some people do. So I think a lot of people are going to be in a tough spot, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think your point's good. I mean, he's been a bit of a 1 to 2 pointer merchant all season, so panicking because now he's just a 1-pointer merchant with the outside chance of an assist late in the game, or something. I mean, I don't think much has really changed because I doubt he doesn't play. But
and just back to Nico Williams, if he does get his plate, the reason he was I lost out on Andreas' 6 points at the weekend because I had Nico ahead of him on the bench. But the reason I did that is because for like defenders, he's well up there for XG and expected assists. But not, and even Sky put up a graphic when he got subbed on. He's created more chances for Nottingham Forest than any other Nottingham Forest player. He's, I think he's had more shots than any other player or something crazy. I couldn't quite remember the stats, but he is attacking wise. He's very involved for Forest. So there is always that chance that he does get an attacking return should he start in the next 2. We just got to hope that maybe I don't know, maybe he can win his place back. I don't know. I don't think it's like Ori is somehow a lot better player than him and he's just going to be now nailed on and Nico's back to the bench. That could happen, but I don't buy that. It's not a situation where it's like, I don't know, Trent and his backup or Reece James and his backup where, there's a clear number 1. There, I think it's up for grabs, that position, and hopefully Nico Williams can wrestle it back with some decent training performances or whatever, and hopefully we get some good luck there.
I think we've discussed Game Week 12 a bit. I'm sure it'll continue on through the podcast, but a question I want to throw at you here, if you've asked me to ask it, so I'm going to ask you this. How screwed do you have to be to use your free hit in game week 12? We alluded to it earlier, but if we're to give a definite answer, just how screwed do you think you have to be? Because it's obviously so preferable to have that double game week later in the season.
Yeah, so I'm trying desperately hard to save my free hit. And so for me, I think you do have to be really screwed to use it. So for my situation, like I said, either this week it'll be like a -4 and then a -4 the following week, or maybe a -8 saved up into next week. But essentially over this next 2 weeks, -8 will probably come off my score, and I still might only have 10 players, and that's fine for me. So hopefully that answers the question. But if you're looking at like a -16 just to get 10 players, and that includes some shitters, then at that point it's probably worth a free hit. So if you are really screwed, 3 City, 3 Arsenal, a Patterson, a Luis Diaz, a Trent, I am seeing people that are as screwed as that. I've saved 2 free transfers this week. Maybe you haven't, and for example, you haven't, John. So it does depend on your situation. So weigh it up. Have you got two free transfers this week, and therefore 3 total in between now and game week 12? If the answer is no to that question, and you've got a load of problems it's going to cause, like I said, if you're looking at a -8 this week and then a -8 next week just to get 10 players out and scrape it, then it is maybe worth a free hit and later on in this. But just be aware that sort of game week 29 to 32 stage, when a lot of us will be able to make a good, make a load of points, then you will be at a disadvantage then. So it's really hard to know, John, whether or not to do it, because you will lose out on points later on in the season. I'm pretty sure of that. So for me, really try and get through this period without your free hit, unless you are absolutely screwed.
Wes, let's move on to our differentials. And we're also going to have a look at our double up game we're playing, team reveals, and whatever else. So I've got the wrong graphic on the screen right now, but let me just get the right one up. So the differentials, here they are for this week. Mason Mount, just 4% owned, 7.6 million. He'll be a big sort of pick for the Luis Diaz heads.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on him? Chilwell's here as well. Two Chelsea assets actually in here. So Chilwell, 3.3%, Mount 7.6. Mason Mount did well in Europe as well. He won the penalty last night, didn't he?
Yeah, exactly. And he got a lot of praise. He got taken off at half time because he was already on a yellow card, and I think he played a lot of football. He was one of the only players to survive the mass Chelsea rotation last week. The fact he's only got 45 minutes suggests that Potter's going to use him quite a lot over this next couple of weeks. But yeah, in terms of Mount, a couple of game weeks ago, I was quite anti-Mount, but because of his form, but he's really turned that around the last few game weeks and looking really good. So I don't mind him now as a differential at all.
You see, like you said. Can I butt in? Sorry, a Mount. Is this Mount thing a wee bit FOMO-y, kind of like Eze fever, where it's like he scored 1 point a game week for about 10 weeks, and then he bangs and gets a goal or 12 points or 10 points, and all of a sudden it's different.
I don't think so. I think Mount would start the season poorly, but now he's playing better. So I don't expect Mount to regress back to. He's not a random defensive midfielder who's just had one good game week that can happen. At that point, I'd say that maybe that's a FOMOing in. But with Mount, we know his class, we know what he can do, we know how integral he is to Chelsea. He just, like you said, Champions League played well. The game before, he's playing really well. So Mount's now picked up his form to his levels have dropped, and now he's back to the levels we know he can produce. And his active price is a good differential, because I tipped Bowen a few weeks ago, John, who's done well. You said you was very anti-Bowen.
I called him a trap.
Started. Yeah. Which you could have been right, obviously.
A point trap.
He's done well in the last weeks. Yeah. But I think Bowen and Maddison are quite similar, actually. They've both had 6, 7, 8 game weeks of playing quite poorly, and they're both picked up the game now, and I expect them to do well. Chilwell is in here with a massive caveat, as, like I said earlier, in the pod, I'm not contradicting myself, but he's in here as a decent differential if you wanted to take that gamble. For me, in my style of play, I think I'll go boring with, like I said, a centre-back, just because of how busy this period is. If you're more of a gambler, if you want that exciting pick, if you're happy to stomach a bit of rotation, that could happen with Chilwell over the next few game weeks, because don't be surprised, you can't transfer in Chilwell and be surprised if he misses out occasionally over the next few game weeks. But you might get lucky. Well, you might get big points in games he does play, because he is the type of player who can score a goal, get an assist, and get a clean sheet all in one game. It's like Cancelo did the other day. He's got that in his locker, which is an 18-pointer, which more than makes up for any. The thing with Ben, sorry, I butted in on you there. There was a wee bit of lag. That's fine.
The thing with Chilwell is obviously he played against Milan and then he was rested at the weekend, and now he's played against Milan. So is it safe to kind of look and go, he's probably going to be rested at the weekend for Cucurella, based off the way Potter's playing it?
Absolutely. It absolutely could be. So he's not in this. He absolutely could be. And if you are fearful of that, do not go for Chilwell.
Yeah.
If you do go for Chilwell, do it knowing the risks of rotation. I suppose it'd probably be better for most. If he's rotated this week, it's probably better than being rotated for game 12.
Yeah.
Because at least you've probably got, well, maybe not, but you've probably got at least a Nico Williams this week to come on for you for like 1 or 2 pointer, which isn't great, but it's at least better than nothing. So yeah, it's a massive cap. Well, just to make that crystal clear. Yeah, sorry, Dunk.
We've a small delay there, so I keep talking over you. Sorry about that. But yeah, I was just going to say Dunk, 4.4% is probably the safer option, one of those boring options you were alluding to in defence, but also a differential.
Yeah, absolutely. So, like, I don't want to keep repeating myself, but I think it is clear. It is a good point to make because of earlier on in the season where game weeks 1 to sort of 4, there was no European football. All the games were spread out. And there wasn't really much rotation at all. Like, I didn't have to use my bench at all for the first 4 or 5 weeks. I picked nailed on players and they all played all the time. Whereas now we're getting into rotation territory. We saw it at the weekend just gone with Chelsea. Chelsea prioritised the 2 AC Milan games, didn't they? And they rotated pretty much their entire 11. Sterling got rested. Aubameyang got rested. Reece James got rested. A couple more as well. Whereas now, these boring picks of Lewis Dunk, rather than say a wing back from Brighton, is just a much safer pick. Likewise with someone like Gahey, you're not likely to get an assist from these players. You might get lucky with a goal from a corner. They have that aerial threat from corners. Again, it's a 1 in 20 game type of ratio, isn't it? Really. So it would be lucky to get one, but there's a chance. And it's just that boring pick. It's a couple of good fixtures for Brighton, maybe some bonus points with a clean sheet, and it's just. We need players who start over this period. I certainly do. And I'm pretty sure everyone else is going to be in the same boat.
Guys, do us a favour. There's 325 people in the house, which is amazing to see. Drop a like while you're here. It really, really helps the videos. And obviously subscribe to Fantasy Football Hub with another 2 videos pre-deadline coming out. And you can go back and check out the one yesterday if you're that way inclined with Picard. Wes, let's move on to the double up game. So we have the rules on the screen now, just to run people through who aren't familiar with this. Every week we have a running game all season where me and Wes are going to pick a double up from a different Premier League team each week. The rule is that the 2 players have to be owned by less than 1% of the top 10k combined ownership, that is. So That is what it is. That's literally what it is. If you're confused about that, go and look it up. Can't use it because it's confusing to explain. Can't use the same team twice in consecutive game weeks. So we can't just pick. I can't pick Man City again because I used them last week. And the loser at the end of the season is going to shave off their beautiful beard. Now we do have 2 beards here that are ripe for the shaving. So look, I just really hope it's not me. Let's have a look at the current results. Let's have a look at how we look after last week. So I won. I had Erling Haaland, who got 6 points, and Akanji, who got 7. So that was 13 points, bringing my total up to 33. You got 6 points. You had Zaha and Guehi, and 6 point total up to 43. So 10 points the difference. I should have maybe gone Zaha and Eze. I was thinking more because I think I'd been talking about Guehi as sort of a good, decent, cheap defender, long-term pick for FPL. I actually should have switched my mind for the game and gone a bit more attacking, a bit more exciting with something like Eze. Yeah, you definitely should have. But look, maybe do you know what? You probably thought the clean sheet was coming, and you would have took the old based off Eze's returns.
Similar for your Kanji pick for the clean sheet. I had a decent enough chance against Leeds at home, didn't I? But it just didn't work out. Akanji's the highest scorer there, John. You basically went for him just to squeeze Haaland in, and it actually worked out being a really decent pick.
I figured he'd start, and I thought, a Man City defender starting, we'll take that. Surprised he got 7.
Your style at the minute, and again, this is you guys will see what I mean with the next picks when they come out. Your style at the minute is to go for a big hitter and squeeze someone in, because you did Kane and Dyer early on in the season.
Dyer got the goal,
Yeah, now you've got Haaland and Kanji, and then this week you've done something similar. I'm going for 2 mid-range players. So let me see. Look, at the minute,
I'll show you who I've picked this week. Who I'm picking for game week 11 again is Harry Kane, and to enable that, I looked at Dyer again, but it was over 1% for the 2 of them, which surprised me. So I had to go for Bentancur. I don't know. I just feel like Bentancur, he's probably 2 points. I mean, he's probably 2 points, but he has shown he can get away assist. He has shown he can get a goal, and I think he's about as nailed as they're going to come. So, Harry Kane, Bentancur for me, 0.01% owned by the top 10k. What do you think about them?
Yeah, I like that. And actually, just as a little segue back to FPL for a second, I want to talk about Kane because myself included, and we barely, we haven't spoke. This is the first time we've mentioned Harry Kane, right, on this podcast. And his return so far have been phenomenal. The only problem with Kane is it's in context of the season. Haaland, they both started at the same price, and Haaland's absolutely smashing it. Haaland's essential in our teams. And because we all had Salah for a long while because we thought he was essential, turns out he wasn't. And then we probably pivoted to someone like a De Bruyne. Our money's been tied up there. But Kane's returns, he blanked once when I owned him, actually, which is annoying. In game week 1, he was my captain against Southampton, I think. And then I switched to Haaland. But every game week since then, I don't think Kane's blanked. And he's not just getting like a scrappy assist, he's getting goals, which is obviously more points. And I think he's got, is it 8 goals so far this season?
He's
and
got
2 assists? Something like that. So
that's it.
If this was last season, Harry Kane would be in everyone's team. He's not. And to be fair, we've had cheaper strikers doing the business as well. So you could get away with having a Mitrovic, with having a Callum Wilson, an Ivan Toney, that sort of player. But take away the context of how well other forwards have done this season, Kane's doing amazingly well. So is there an argument to pivot up to Kane? For myself, John, I have Gabriel Jesus. That obviously he's a player I'm looking to take out. Do we go cheaper and keep the same sort of structure in my team and get a Callum Wilson or a Solanke? Or do I go up to Kane and lose the money from someone like De Bruyne?
De Bruyne to Foden.
Possibly.
Mid-price forward to Kane. That's the move.
So when we get onto, sorry to interrupt, when we get onto what I'm thinking for my team, there's an option where I do go down to someone like a Bowen and then jump back on Foden for one of my mid-price mids, whoever's like not performing as well in game week 13. So yeah, basically what you just said.
So these are my picks. Let's look at your game week 11 picks. You have picked Scamacca and Bowen, which scares me actually. I think that's the better two. You got first pick this week as well. I should have shown you first. You got first pick because
I did.
You lost last week.
Yeah.
So Scamacca and Bowen. Scamacca scored a goal, 2 goals in 2 back-to-back games, I think, and Bowen showing that he's maybe not a trap like I suggested.
They've got a decent fixture, haven't they? And as a partnership in terms of getting 2 players with decent, you've probably got all your points, all your eggs in the Harry Kane basket, haven't you? I've spread the risk a little bit. Decent fixture, both playing well, scoring goals. And actually, I was kind of, and again, segueing back to FPL, I still don't think I'm interested in Scamacca because I'm a little bit worried about Antonio. And they've got European football. Is Scamacca really going to play every Premier League game? Maybe. He did look really good, though. His XG was through the roof as well in terms of he kept getting set up for headers in the last game and he just couldn't quite score one. But those were all really good chances. So, yeah, Again, if someone a couple of weeks ago would have said, I'm going to transfer in Scamacca, I'd have said, don't do it because of Antonio. Now I wouldn't say that. He wouldn't necessarily come into my team, but I think he's definitely viable in FPL, as is Bowen, obviously. So, yeah, I think I've got a decent chance this week.
I was going to say something, but it's gone. So let's just move on. I think you have a great chance. I think it could go either way there. West Ham just aren't consistent enough. Obviously, Spurs, I have them, and the reason I've picked them is they're playing against Everton. So I feel like I could do well. But I think that one's up in the air. But based on the fact that next week I'm in Paris from Saturday to Tuesday, the game week closes on, is it Tuesday at 6 o'clock or something?
Yeah, so the game week 12 deadline's Tuesday even, yeah.
We won't be able to go in time for next week. So this is almost like a game week 11 and 12 stream. So my pick for next week, which this is looking a little bit into the future, but we just want to get it on the record. I've picked Newcastle again, targeting Everton. I've got Trippier and Bruno Guimaraes. Now I know Bruno started the season playing a good bit deeper in that team, then he got injured, but since he's come back, I don't know, there seems to be a wee bit more about his game going forward. Trippier, even if there's no clean sheets had, he's returning every game at the minute. So I don't know. I didn't want to play the old Wilson Isaac game, so I just went for these guys.
Yeah, and this is actually a bit different to what I said was your usual style. Actually, you've gone for now 2 players who've got decent chance of getting points, and with Bruno, actually, I'm glad you said that, John. I want to plug might be hard to find, but go to Hub's Twitter feed, scroll down until you see a tweet about Bruno. I tweeted from Hub about Bruno. Basically, his stats from Gameweek 1 to 8 were quite poor in terms of, big chances created, XG, blah, blah, blah. Whereas Gameweek 9 and 10, much more goal threat, much more chances created. So I think his role, I'm not sure, maybe a Newcastle fan can help me out here. I'm pretty sure he was maybe playing more as a defensive midfielder at the start of the season.
He was playing very deep.
Yeah, I think he was maybe playing as more of a number 6 in that defensive midfield role. Now he's playing more of an 8, maybe with Longstaff coming back in team. I don't quite know, actually, but I'm pretty sure his role at the start of the season was more just to sit, and now it's sort of box to box. So, which obviously increases his chances of goals and assists. So, yeah, I like that pick. And even in FPL, would I go there? There's so many other midfielders I want, so I probably wouldn't. But as a good budget enabler, Bruno's a decent shout, yeah.
He was cheat code from January to June, or January to May at the end of Bruno Guimaraes was cheat code at the end of last season since he signed. He just started this season in a different position, as you mentioned. But based on time, let's move on because I need to be going by 1. I'm recording another podcast. I'll pull your picks up. You've went for Double Brighton. You've went for Trossard, looking for some explosive returns, and Dunk.
Yeah, I considered sort of Trossard and Gross or McAllister or maybe something like a Welbeck. But yeah, it's kind of covered off both bases there. Maybe he gets, if I get a little clean sheet, at least I'll get some points on the board. And Brighton in week 12 have Forest at home, I think, which I felt was probably the pick of the fixtures with how poor Forest have been recently. So yeah, again, happy with that. Got a decent enough chance of some points there, I think.
Cool. Well, look, let's have a look at our teams quickly. I'm just going to give people a quick refresh of my team. I feel a bit weird because I stream like 3-4 times a week on this channel, and I feel like I show my team every week. But I'm also aware that some people mightn't be here every time. So very quick roundup. I got 70 points just like you, but I had a -4 on that. I suppose Cancelo, the big win. Haaland captain like everyone. Martinelli, the nice little surprise package I needed. A little bit heartbroken I had Gay. I'm going to say his name 3 different times every single video of the whole season. I had him first on the bench instead of Andreas, which is a little bit annoying. But Tony returned, Zaha returned, De Bruyne returned, Madison really the only disappointment. A couple of others, I suppose, Pope and James, whatever else. But 70 points, a green arrow, a small green arrow, but I'll take it. In terms of what I'm thinking for next week, I've imported this into the Fantasy Football Hub My Team tool. So initially I was going to roll. I thought, keeping transfers for next week would be good. But now with Mitrovic, now with James also a doubt, realistically I could be looking at playing. It would be Pope, Cancelo, Guehi, Trippier, Zaha, De Bruyne, Madison, Martinelli, Andreas, Haaland and Tony. It's not the end of the world, but there's zero wiggle room for rotation because my only sort of nailed sub would be Nico Williams. Now I would actually play Mitrovic here instead of Andreas and hope he plays. But this would be my team. It's on the screen now. I am going to captain Haaland against Liverpool, rested midweek. 51.6 predicted points. Would I take that? Absolutely not, because Man City are going to trounce Liverpool. I can feel it in my plums. And I think the rest of the guys could do well this week. So I don't know about the Newcastle lads. Don't think they'll keep a clean sheet against United. Anthony's someone who we haven't mentioned. Anthony's playing amazing. Goals every week. But that's the team.
Yeah, on Anthony, again, I'm not anti him or I wouldn't put anyone off him, but yeah, for me, I'm always a little bit skeptical of new players to the league. Bit of rotation risk there, maybe with the likes of Rashford and whoever else. I don't know. I think if I was to go for United asset, I'd probably go for Rashford. But yeah, I wouldn't, like I said, wouldn't put anyone off Tony just on that point. Sorry, not Tony, Anthony.
So this is my team. You're right. No, but let's go and look at your team. You got 70 points, but with no minuses. Talk us through it. Very similar, actually. To be fair, you've Jesus. I had Tony. You played Nico Williams. I played Guehi, and that's about it.
Yeah, we've normally got quite different teams, but at the minute they've merged into something fairly similar. Again, a bit like your disappointment with Gay being first sub. I had Nico Williams first sub, and then he came off the bench, which was annoying. And then, obviously lost out on the Andreas points. Yeah, my week was, again, a small green arrow, decent enough. And yeah, I won't talk too much about last week because, like you said, you've covered off most of the main talking points. Jesus got me a little return before he inevitably leaves my team soonish. So yeah, for next week, I have 2 free transfers. I have no idea what I'm doing yet because it depends on Reece James. If he's out, then maybe he becomes my transfer out. If he's fine, I'll maybe look to take out Jesus instead. But I will be taking at least 1 transfer this week because I have 2 in the bank. I can't roll again, obviously. So yeah, defense is probably my weak spot as well because I've got the Patterson issue. I've got Nico Williams issue. If I don't replace Reece James, then I'm probably going to get a 1 pointer from Nico. So, which I wouldn't be too disappointed about because I kind of want to keep my triple city for this Liverpool game.
Yeah.
And even I'm happy to hold Jesus for Leeds as well. So yeah, if Reece James is out injured for the foreseeable future, then he might as well be my transfer out, probably for like a boring dunk or a Dyer with some hope of some clean sheet points over the next few game weeks, basically.
Yeah, so you've a bit of trouble there with Nico and Patterson, obviously.
Yeah,
but it'll be interesting to see how you navigate it. And if people want to see, they can find your Twitter, or if they go on the Hub, you'll have an article there with your team review later in the week.
Team review will be on my team review will be on Hub for sure when I figure out what I'm doing.
Yeah, it's a wee bit early in the week. There's still a lot of football to be played, But Wes, look, let's do some quick fire questions and hit the road. So how this works, everyone, is get your questions in. Basically, you need to just write down an A or B style question or a yes or no. Basically, Wes needs to go this or that or yes or no, and he's going to try and answer as many as he can in 5 minutes, solving all your FPL headaches for the upcoming game week. He's going to try and break records, so we need lots of questions. So make sure you get in the comments and drop one in for us. I let them sort of rack up, and then I'll hit the button and we'll go for it.
Yeah, but just as we let him build up, John, just a quick point on, I saw a tweet, like I think it was 126,000 people had already bought in Reece James this week ahead of the injury, and it just goes to show, it sounds boring, I say it all the time, but when there's European football on, it really, especially when we know that there's going to be blanks coming up where we have to be really careful with our transfers, it does really make so much more sense to just absorb. Price changes will happen. Maybe you'll lose out 0.1, 0.2 here and there, but it is much more worth it than risking it with an early transfer. And because if I didn't have Reece James, I'd probably have bought him in as well. But obviously, I wouldn't have gone early because it's just too risky.
Yeah, no, I think I've lost a lot of value on transfers this season because I keep waiting towards the deadline, and it is a bitter pill to swallow. But I think it's over the course of a season, it probably pays more.
Yeah, and especially towards the end of the season, we'll know who the budget picks are, and you don't necessarily need all of that budget. A lot of the top players like FPL General and a few others play like that. I'm pretty sure FPL General never makes an early transfer, or very rarely. And there's a couple of other big people who do really well, who do similar. They value points over pounds. They don't really see that much value in building such a huge team value just to have maybe one slightly better player than league rivals. So yeah, I think that's the best way to play 9 times out of 10.
We're going to hit go. 5 minutes. You ready?
Yeah.
Let's see how many you can get. You can be as ruthless as you want now, but
nice.
I'm going to try and speed us on to get your record set. 53, the record from Bakar, but that was a freak one. You'd need to be answering a question every 5 seconds for that. Keep the questions coming, because if I start to run out of them, I'll start to panic. All right, go. Aubameyang, yes or no?
Yes.
Rashford for Salah?
Yes.
KDB to Son?
No, I'm a little bit worried about Son's game time still. Kulusevski coming back. He's not nailed on for that price, no.
Okay, -4 to get Kane and lose KDB to Trossard.
I'm looking at something similar. Yeah, I don't mind that. I think a -4 will be pretty common either this week or next week, and it sets you up well for that time period. So, yeah.
Bowen or Trossard?
Bowen, unless you need the money.
Jesus and Martinelli. Or Martinelli.
Jesus. Which one to keep? Hold Martinelli over Jesus. Jesus is on 4 yellows as well, so he's going to get a blank soon, and then obviously probably another blank when he gets another yellow. And the way he plays, he's going to pick up another yellow.
Perisic, Chilwell, or Cucurella?
All really risky rotation options. So as they're all rotation options, might as well get the best one, which is Chilwell.
KDB or Foden?
Foden frees up a lot of money and has got more goal threat. KDB is obviously the assist up. So yeah, I prefer Foden. I'll be pivoting to him, I think, soon.
Perisic to Trippier?
Yes, 100%.
Trossard or Madison for captain? Game week 12.
Game week 12. I was going to reply and just say Haaland. Trossard or Madison. Trossard's probably got a better fixture. I'm indifferent there. Probably Trossard.
Would you call the girl hot or would you call her sexy?
Depends, isn't it? Probably hot.
Yeah, I think sexy's a bit creepy or something.
Yeah,
I'm glad you said that. Trossard or Mount?
Probably still Trossard. Frees up a bit more cash. I do like both though.
Cucurella or Chilwell?
I've
asked this
Chilwell
for it again.
Sorry, Chilwell, yeah.
Johnny or Dunk for the next two?
Yeah, Wolves have got decent enough fixtures to go for a cheap defender there, but I still think I prefer Dunk, especially if the question was the next two. The next two are really good for Brighton.
Keep Salah or ditch?
I think it's hard to ditch him now because you've probably got other issues in your team. Like, I keep saying about all these players blanking and injured or whatever. But yeah, I don't mind getting rid of Salah now.
Dunk or Webster?
Ooh, really tough one. Personal preference there.
Johnny and Perisic for TAA and Nico.
Perisic, I know Emerson Royale's out suspended, but I still think he's a rotation risk. With maybe Sessegnon can play left wing back and Doherty right wing back, and therefore Perisic misses out. So go for a more nailed on player.
Dunk, Webster or Guehi?
Really tough, all really boring centre back options. In the very short term, go Brighton. If you want someone for the next 6 game weeks up until the international break, the World Cup break, then Guehi.
Trossard or Martinelli?
Short term Trossard, long term Martinelli.
Doherty or Dunk?
Dunk, can't trust Doherty's game time.
Saka in or out?
If you can hold him as a really good asset, but obviously he's got that blank, so you need to work around that. But yeah, I really like him as an option.
Game week 13 onward, Foden or Saka?
Probably Foden. 3 out of really amazing fixtures for City post game week. Game week 13 to 16, so I'd have to say Foden.
Pope to Ward?
No.
Trossard or Rashford?
Trossard, but I like both as options.
Kepa?
Yeah, again, just on the keepers issue. I mean, I can't be thinking about a keeper transfer right now. I've got so many other issues. Even game week 13 onwards, I'm going to be wanting to focus my transfers on players like Foden back in and stuff like that. So I'm just going to hold Pope the next 6 game weeks. Whatever he gets, he gets.
Captain Kane an option?
Yes, but I just don't want to go against Haaland. He's too good.
Been punished before. Jota or Nunez?
Nunez.
Bernardo Silva or Rashford?
Rashford.
Welbeck or Solanke?
Solanke.
Nunez or Jesus?
Nunez.
Dunk or Guehi?
Dunk short term, Guehi long term.
Fofana to Dunk?
Yeah.
Hines or Hellmans? Mayo specifically.
Mayo. Still Hines, I think. Yeah.
Hellmans
Hines.
for me. Nico Williams or Johnny?
Johnny.
Struggling to find a new one here. Trippier to Perisic or we're out of time. Out of time anyway, Wes. So we got through 32 and a half.
Not bad. I gave a lot of context in some of them.
Yeah. I think that's about your average. You kind of hover around the 30-35 mark. But yeah, geez, that took it out of me. Trying to find new questions because everyone has the same problems. You really see, we should maybe do that earlier because you always see people's problems right off the bat or where people's heads are at when you ask that question.
Yeah.
You know. But, Wes, it's been an absolute pleasure. Hit a wee like on your way out, guys. Please do subscribe for more content like this. We're here every week. We won't be here for Game Week 12 because I'm away and it's a quick turnaround. But we'll be back. I don't know if we'll be back. We'll have to discuss that between 12 and 13 maybe. But there will be content on the channel. We'll see you later. Find us on Twitter at our handles below our heads. Mine's over there. Yeah, something like that.
Wow.
See you later.
Cheers, guys.
Cheerio. Bye-bye.